So Pinky Ghadiali is a transformational business and life coach for women and the founder of a company called netwomen.co, if you want to look that up. Her topic is overcoming imposter syndrome when you apply for a job or go for an interview. I'm sure she's going to explain to us exactly what that is. And let me scroll down. She is a woman's transformational life and business coach working with ambitious, career-driven women and entrepreneurs across the UK and the globe. She is passionate about helping her clients become empowered to achieve personal and professional goals with purpose, drive, and vision. Whether it's asking for a promotion or chasing leads and closing business deals, believing in yourself is the first step toward creating a life you love. We cannot say that too often. She will help you create your killer mindset that dismisses your inner critic and overcomes imposter syndrome to put you on the right track for professional and personal success. She is a master practitioner in neuro-linguistic programming, trained by co-founder Richard Bandler, and qualified with the Institute of Leadership and Management in Coaching and Mentoring. She founded NetWomen in January 2020, a global online community supporting ambitious women who feel alone, isolated, or stuck in business or careers, to help women promote themselves, increase visibility, build relationships, generate leads, to create new professional and business opportunities. At NetWomen, they believe in diversity, inclusion, and belonging to make a difference in organizations and encourage the 50-50 gender split at the top. I love it. The platform is for virtual personal development and skill sharing, D&I programs, it's diversity and inclusion, interviews, coaching, mastermind groups, and online networking. Join netwomen.co, and your membership will contribute to their foundation to coach women who have experienced toxic situations at work. And it's almost as though you can say, and who hasn't? So that seems to be so prevalent. So with no more delay, let's welcome Pinky to our Job Club.
Thank you, Kathy. I am delighted to be here. Thank you, everyone, for being here and listening. Wow. I mean, even after that, I feel tired. All of those things on that list. Okay, so in order for this to be relatable to you and for you to get the most out of this, I'd like you to interact with me. So there's going to be some times where I'm going to ask you to have a think about your own personal situations and to help you overcome certain things. And you can do that by putting details in the chat. Just feel free to drop questions as I go along, and feel free to answer any questions that I ask you, because I will be asking some things about your situation and what you're going through. So as Kathy said, I help people overcome imposter syndrome, and I'm going to explain in just a moment what that actually is. One of the things I wanted to cover today is how has imposter syndrome shown up for you? The difference between self-doubt and imposter syndrome, and why a coping strategy might sometimes make it worse, and why standard coaching and working on yourself may not be enough. And having done my research, applying for jobs, going for those interviews, and getting that career is really exciting and rewarding and fun. However, it can be quite challenging and frustrating. Sometimes you don't always get what you want. And sometimes the dreaded imposter syndrome can creep in, and it's knowing how to manage that internal negative voice, the one that pipes up, especially in an interview or just before you go and apply for that job that you think you want to go for, but then that inner critic pipes up. So the most important part of this is your mindset. And just as it said in my bio about believing in yourself, that's one of the major things. And I'm going to tap into a little bit of that today. And the most important part of this is sharing with you today my tips and how it's worked for my clients. And I also want to know, before I start, what industries are you in at the moment? If you are working, what are your industries? Or what industries are you trying to apply for? What sectors are you applying for? I'd love to hear in the chat so I can make this relevant to you. And which roles are you in? I really want to know that too. I'm guessing you're all in the US. I'm guessing you're all in Austin, in Texas. I'm hoping. So drop in the chat where you are, what you're doing, so I can see that now. Great. Okay, so we have recruiter, semiconductor, freelance video editor, Austin, Texas. Fantastic. Thank you. Tech. Great. That's really exciting. Women in tech. I love that sector. Employment, education, career coach. Love it. Loving all of these coming in. This is great. Qualifying low-income applicants for housing. Fantastic. Talent manager, looking for remote jobs within the US. CSM tech, looking for government, state jobs and investigation. International development. Government D&I. Excellent. Love that. Sales, performance management, software consulting. Lots of consultants out there, which is exciting. So going on to this slide here, that gives me an idea on what you are all doing, which is great. So going on to this slide now, can you all see it okay? Just a nod would be great. Fantastic. Okay, so imposter syndrome. Here's one of the things that you need to know about it. It's when someone is confident and successful, yet convinces themselves they're not good enough despite the external evidence. If that's you, then you're in the right place right now, because over 70% of women struggle with imposter syndrome at some point in their lives. For the ratio of men, I've discovered that 52% of C-level executives suffer with imposter syndrome, doubting themselves and their ability to lead, as I found out with a recent article I was reading in Forbes magazine from the research they've done on LinkedIn. It seems that the higher up the ladder you go, it shows up more. And the lonelier it is, the more crippling imposter syndrome gets. What I'd like you to do now is just have a think about some situations where you might have felt like that, where you felt that you are going to get found out, or you feel a bit like a fraud when you walk into a room and you don't feel like you belong, or you have felt like that I'm going to get found out feeling in a situation. If you have, drop that in the chat. Thanks, Shannon. Your trigger is fear, stress, anxiety, and performance issues at work. Particularly if you're working from home and remotely, this can translate to all areas of your life. If you think about it, for me right now, I'm in my kitchen. I work from here every day. I work with people from all over the world, but I'm in my kitchen. And that's, people are coming and going. This is part and parcel of what our new world is, our new life is. So it's overcoming certain issues like that. But then at the same time, when you are scared, stressed, anxious, you're feeling those things, imposter syndrome can show up for you. So let's have a look at what it is and what it isn't. So I talked about self-doubt and I looked at imposter syndrome as well. But what it is that it doesn't mean you're not good enough or not up to the job. If you are For instance, an award-winning author. Let's talk about Maya Angelou. She had more successes under her belt, more than what she could ever imagine. And she even said, I have written 11 books, but each time I think, oh no, they're going to find out now. I've run a game on everyone and they're going to find me out. This is just not about people who write. This is about people all over the world. And it's not just about an interview. Just think about the times where you have pushed yourself, where you've pushed yourself out of your comfort zone, where you've done something that you wouldn't normally do. How does that make you feel? Does it make you want to jump up and join, go for it? Or does it have that feeling of, oh, I'm not sure about this. I'm not sure if I'm good enough. I'm not sure if I deserve this. And there's loads of confessions on the internet of people in all sectors, in all industries, despite their qualifications, still worry about that feeling of being unmasked. And that feeling of not feeling good enough is then holding you back because you feel like you can't go and apply for that job, doesn't it? It makes you feel like you can't go for that interview or that career advancement or that promotion. And I want you to have a think about now the number of hours that you have spent worrying about not being good enough to apply for a job or a promotion. Just have a think about that. And if you're feeling brave enough, pop it in the chat. I'd love to know. How many hours do you spend worrying about something, about an interview or a job? Let's see. Thanks for sharing, Lisa. Anyone else want to share? On average, too many. Thanks, Maria. So we sit there for a countless number of hours, thanks, Lindsay, that, sitting there worrying about, I can't possibly apply for that. I'm not good enough. I can't possibly go to that interview. And what if? All those feelings, those thoughts that come into your mind. And that's your inner critic, trying to keep you safe, trying to stop you from making that step out of your comfort zone. And then now what I want you to do is flip the story. Flip the story that you've had and ask yourself, why do you want to apply for this job in the first place? And why you might want that promotion. And I want you to just think about what happens when you visualize your ideal outcome. I'm going to give you a minute or so to actually think about that, about visualizing an outcome after an interview. What does it look like? How does it feel? What does it sound like? Just going to give you a moment. If you want to, you can write this down. It's always useful to write this down because it's something you can use in the future if you are going ahead and applying for something, or if you're in an interview situation. Always thinking about the positive outcome will help you think bigger in that area than it will the negative side of things when you get that negative thought. Okay. I think you've had a little bit of time to think about that. One of the things about what imposter syndrome is not is the fact that it's when when you're thinking about it, it is actually the gap between who you see yourself being and who you think you need to be to lead and succeed. I'm going to say that again. It's the gap between who you see yourself being and who you think you need to be to lead and succeed. This is 80% mindset. Being successful is 80% mindset, 20% skill set. It's as simple as that. It's a challenge sometimes to maintain that consistent level of confidence especially when you know you're only as good as your last job, your last application, your last interview. And success requires you to prove yourself over and over again, because that's really how you're going to get that job and how you're going to get that promotion. And sometimes it can really bring you down when you've applied and applied and applied and had zero success, or you've gone into interviews and you've got nothing. And it can affect you mentally, emotionally, and physically. At this point, I want you to use a technique called STOP. It's a technique used quite commonly with psychologists. And just stop. Stop that cycle. Stop doing that to yourself. Think about how many years it's taken you to get to where you are now. And then think about what you truly deserve. This slide here just is something that is really that comes up a lot with my clients, and I wanted to share it because I've got a lot to cover today, but I haven't got that long to share it all. So I wanted to cover this especially because the inner critic pipes up and takes over, and that inner committee, that voice that berates us and belittles us, that you can't apply because you're not good enough, you can't go for that promotion because you're not qualified or experienced enough, and you don't fit 100% of the criteria on the job application. Women, we do this to ourselves. We don't apply because we don't meet 100% of the job criteria. Men, you're better at this than us. Hands down. You're better at applying for things and just going in there and saying you're just going to learn on the job. Whereas women, we don't do that. And part of this is because we put ourselves down before we even get there. And, so many reasons, so many old stories that we tell ourselves. And I know that many of you out there have tried sometimes and failed before. And so you think, well, why should I bother? I'm not going to get this job. So here's the thing. I want to ask you, how do you talk to yourself? There's two voices that we have. One that we share with the people that we love and we care about, and we come to these meetings and we talk to everyone else like they're our friends, and we're kind and helpful and we offer advice and we're supportive. And then there's another voice that sometimes it's in your head, most of the time it's in your head, and it can be quite critical. And I want you to think about that. And if you're brave enough, pop it in the chat. Are you being kind to yourself like you would do to your son, your daughter, your friend? Or are you critical? Do you bring yourself down? Thanks for sharing, John. It's the unspoken criteria and hidden expectations that are the problem, in my opinion. Yeah, this is true. This is very true. And there's also an element of, I think that women do generally tend to hold themselves back because it's just our nature and what we do. I'm sure that the women on this call will completely understand what I'm saying. And yes, Maria, you're right. Being kind to ourselves is a retraining of our brain. Absolutely. And I'm going to share some of that in a moment. And Brody saying, the artist eye has always followed me. I never feel good about my work, even if clients want it or enjoy it. Do you know what? That's a funny thing. I did a presentation exactly the same, similar to this, to a bunch of creatives. And it was about charging your worth. And actually how creatives don't love their work ever. Perfectionism takes over. I'm going to talk about that now. So how many of you have perhaps read the books, listened to the podcasts and done some online courses and perhaps done some affirmations here and there and are still feeling imposter syndrome? If you have, let me know. Drop a yes in the chat. The fear of failure is huge, and sometimes it takes over. So reframing that thinking is one of the things I want to go through with you today. And that is the way that you can change the way you think about something. So instead of why is this happening to me, changing it to what am I learning from this is one of the key factors of helping you overcome this. So changes in mindset in terms of fear and anxiety, these things can show up. The 4 Ps: people pleasing, perfectionism, procrastination, and then paralysis. So imagine you're in a situation, you have to go for this promotion because this is what you want, but you don't feel good enough to apply because you don't fit the 100% requirements that are on this form, on the job description. So you procrastinate, you never apply, and then you miss the opportunity. So literally, the procrastination has led to paralysis of applying for this job, and then you feel like a bit of a fraud when you are doing it in the first place. That's one example. The next one is perhaps you get the job, you're people pleasing in the job, and that leads to perfectionism. Then procrastination, because you can never give the completed, finalized piece to them. And that leads to paralysis. And you constantly feel like a bit of a fraud, that you're not up to the job. Let me know if you've ever felt like this. And I'm going to give you a moment to have a think about that. Oh, thanks, Karen. Karen sent me a direct message, which is very kind. I won't read it out, but she is saying about these 4 Ps always getting to you. So I want to share something that was shared with me from one of my clients. By the way, I'm based in Edinburgh in Scotland, in case you didn't know, and it is, what time is it here? 3 minutes past 5 in the evening. So I guess it's morning for you guys. I think there's certainly something here that remembering something here is really important, is when you fixate on criticism from yourself, especially in an interview situation, the words that you say to yourself internally are always going to come out in any situation. So the way that you think will always be the way that you act and the way that you feel. So that feeling will always come out as an action. So I want you to just, for a moment, write this down. Write down, you just imagine yourself being in an interview situation right now, or the last time you were in an interview situation. Let's do this one. Last time you were in an interview situation, what words, what thoughts, what sentences were going through your head? Write those down for me. Just a quick exercise for you to do, because there's going to be a follow-up on this, on how we can change this around. Okay, I'm going to repeat the question. Imagine yourself being in the last interview situation. Just write down for me the things that you were saying to yourself in an interview situation. The negative voice. What were you saying? Or if you are going for an interview, what words are you saying to yourself now about going into this interview? James, you obviously don't struggle with any of this, do you? I can do this. I've got this. Fantastic. Randy, I'm sure you've answered the question. Yeah, there is so much to learn. Maybe I can't do it. Got it. Anyone else want to share? You can. Otherwise, feel free to use your whatever you've written down for the next part, which I'm going to do in a moment. How will I celebrate versus negative? Excellent. What if they, James says, what if they think I'm too old? That's that's a limiting belief there, James. I'm sure they don't think you're too old at all. Okay. Cool. I think you've all got lots of things there. Okay. Is anyone here an entrepreneur or a founder of their own company? No. Okay, that's cool. There's one thing that I've learned about this, is that this cycle of imposter syndrome is, okay, I will read it. Is it difficult to read this slide? Let me read it out. Here we go. Before I met Pinky, I really wanted to grow my business and had some amazing opportunities opening up, but I felt like I was self-sabotaging my chances of success, and I knew I had to work out why. I suspected I had some pretty major limiting beliefs about money and my abilities. I was right. Initially, I was worried about the investment, but it felt right, so I took the plunge, and I'm glad I did. Pinky's amazing coaching has allowed me to get over my limiting beliefs, particularly around money, and it has made me much more confident in myself without worrying about what everyone else thinks all the time. This pretty major mindset shift has allowed me to get some big contracts that I might not have got without her coaching. As for tangible results, I've secured at least 4 big clients in less than 6 months that I might not have had the confidence to sign up prior to coaching. It's hard to quantify at the moment, but I estimate these to be worth at least £80,000 UK pounds. I guess that's about $120-ish thousand per annum. That is not to mention all the other benefits to my business from changing my beliefs. I'm a much more confident, relaxed, and happy leader, which has had huge implications to my team as we're starting to grow properly, but in a calm and focused manner. The work Pinky has done with me has also significantly reduced my stress levels and helped me relieve some physical symptoms of stress. Thanks so much for everything you've done so far, Pinky. I can't recommend your services highly enough. Yeah. Okay. So there we go. That's from one of my clients that I've worked with. Let's move on to the next part. Is this one easier to read? Maybe because there was so much writing on the other one. Is this one easier? Tell me. Bit bigger. Less words. Yes, thank you. Okay. So the majority of women or people that have worked with me have noticed that the underlying theme is not feeling like you belong. You feel a bit out of place and not good enough. And then there's a deeper level of limitation that we put on ourselves. And the inner critic pipes up that you don't deserve it, you're not worthy, you'll get found out, you're too young, you're too old, you're not enough. It leads to low confidence, low self-esteem, self-sabotage, and then you start suffering mentally, emotionally, physically, and start playing small. The work that I do with people is about breaking the glass ceiling and playing big. If you do not believe in yourself and you don't feel worthy of what you have, then you'll keep getting stuck, because you are going to miss 100% all of the shots that you don't take. So what have you got to lose? Sometimes when you've had coaching in the past, if you have, let me know in the chat, is that it deals with things that are very surface level. So things like I can't, and things like affirmations and gratitude work really well in these situations. And, you know, if any of you do those things, I'd love to hear from you. Are you doing gratitude? Are you doing journaling? Are you doing affirmations? Are you maybe doing some online courses or miracle mornings, meditation? All of these are great. And I want to know, because these are amazing to shift the mentality, the mindset of I can't do something. Whereas imposter syndrome is something that needs to be shifted at a deeper level, which is your internal referencing system, the habits, the stories, the old limiting beliefs that you've told yourself time and time again. And your mindset might have got you to where you are now, but is it going to get you to that next level, to where you need to be? So let's have a think about when it keeps cropping up. When does it crop up? When does it come back? When does it feel like, you know, it's an elastic band or a bungee rope that keeps holding you back from breaking that glass ceiling? Every time you put yourself out of your comfort zone, is it? Is it that fear that keeps doing that? This session is really about digging deeper into your self-awareness. Where is it coming from, and why is it coming back? If you've had some challenges, I'd love to hear in the chat. Of course, you can have a conversation with me privately, but I'd love to hear, because I think a lot of people on this call will resonate with what I'm saying right now. If you've had any situations where you've had a challenge or something that's held you back. So there's some things that we can do here: rewiring, reframing, tapping into the subconscious mind, recreating the internal referencing system, and therefore creating your killer mindset. So this is really beyond coaching. The stuff that I do is very much about working with people, creating identity level shifts, working with clients energetically, and clearing those stuck patterns, creating transformations non-verbally, because I don't always need to know every single little detail of what's happened in your life. We can work without knowing that. So here's the thing. You wrote down a minute ago You wrote down the things that you said to yourself before you went into an interview or while you were sat in an interview situation. Here's the things that I want you to think about. Reframing your thoughts. So those thoughts that you've put down, 99% of the time are just thoughts. They're not real. So I want you to ask yourself, is this statement that I wrote down while I was sitting my interview or just before I go into my interview real, or is it just a thought? So I'd like you to check that. So that's the first thing, check in. And then I want you to make a choice. Are you going to believe that statement, or are you going to change it? And you have an opportunity right now to go ahead and maybe change those words around. Change it to something that is going to be empowering, positive, useful. Remember, I asked you to work out what the outcome is going to be for this interview. When you get that job, how's it going to feel? What does it look like? And what does it sound like? So have a think about that. I'm going to give you a minute to change that sentence that you told yourself at the beginning. Keep them coming. This is great for you, by the way, all of you, because these phrases, I'm going to ask you to put them on a post-it note of your favorite color, and I want you to stick them everywhere. People in your house are going to be so fed up of you. You can put them on your screen. You can put them in your kitchen, on your bathroom mirror, everywhere. Just put them everywhere. It's a great reminder. Just tell yourself how brilliant you are. Why not? There's nothing wrong with that. At our fine wine age for the clubs, I think the doubt takes over after what we consider to have been a great interview. We're ghosted by the recruiter. The ego takes a hit and imposter syndrome type starts to take over. Wow, yeah, okay. Do we have recruiters here? Can I put you on the spot? Why do they ghost you? That's a horrible thing to do. That should not be allowed. That is definitely a horrible feeling. Maria, I have a lot to offer to the right team in the right company or project. Love that. Any more? Karen, for me, it's remembering to ask questions instead of I can't. Ask how can we, or exercise creativity in the moment. Amazing. That's a really great way of looking at it. It's a bit like, what can we learn from the situation instead of why is this happening to me? Love it. Deciding to live into our values. So I'm gonna just finish up. There's a couple of slides I want to share just before I go. One of the other techniques that I really love to use is your why. Why did you start in the first place? What makes you jump out of bed every single morning? Write that down. It's another great way to help you feel motivated and ready to go. Also helps you overcome that dreaded feeling of imposter syndrome as well. And one other tip that I want to share with you, which I think is really clever neurolinguistic programming technique that I learned, is if you are an anxious person and you're about to go to an interview, it's very similar to maybe presenting, or let me tell you a little bit about how I feel about presenting. Before I did NLP, if you told me come and do a presentation, I would have been absolutely petrified. I would not be doing this right now. And what helped me overcome that, and I'm going to share this with you, is when you are feeling anxious, you are going to be seeing an image of something that is not very nice and quite scary, and it's going to be quite big and it's going to be in your face. The way to overcome that is to think about anxiety, instead of it being a big, scary image, is to make the image smaller and to move it to the side or push it away out of your line of vision. And that in itself is one of the techniques that you can use. And the other one is to change your feeling around. So instead of that feeling of what if, the anxiety feeling, how about changing it to excitement? Because both of them have got high-pitched voices. Both of them have got a very fast voice, and maybe your heart is racing. But when you think about going on a roller coaster, a very similar thing happens, because you start feeling excited, your heart's racing, you've got that high-pitched voice, but this time you're saying, I'm excited. So I want you to start using that before you go into an interview. Start thinking about excitement. Put that image of your visualization, your outcome, right in front of your face. Move that bad one out of the way. You do not need it. Put in the good one. Helps me every time. Even in presentations, when I've shared this with my clients, it works a treat. And I would love for you to tell me how you get on with that, because it's great stuff. It really is. I love NLP. I love hypnosis. I love everything about it. And I love helping my clients with this. There are so many more tips and techniques that I want to share with you. And, you know, one of the things I really want you to understand as well is that we're very good at talking about negatives. We talk about negatives. Oh, I didn't get that. I failed. Terrible. You know, we're very good at doing that in England and Scotland. In the UK, in fact, maybe you're better in the US. I don't know. I want you to celebrate each and every win. You got the job offer. Brilliant. You got accepted. Your application is going through. You've got an interview. Celebrate it. It's good. It's exciting. You need to do these things to help fire up your brain to do the things that you really want to do and to achieve those goals, to get to where you need to be.